How McDonald's conquered the world. Every single day, millions of people walk through the doors of McDonald's. They order burgers, fries, and drinks without ever thinking about how this global giant began. Today, the Golden Arches are recognized in almost every country on Earth. They are one of the most powerful symbols in modern business. But very few people know that McDonald's didn't start as a billion-dollar corporation. It started with two brothers, a small restaurant, and an idea that changed the world forever. And perhaps the most surprising part of this story is that the men who invented the system behind McDonald's were not the ones who became the richest. This is a story about innovation, a story about ambition, a story about risk, and a story about how a single restaurant transformed the entire fast food industry. To understand how it happened, we need to travel back nearly a century. America in the 1930s looked very different from today. The country was recovering from the Great Depression. Cars were becoming more common. Families were traveling farther than ever before. And alongside this new mobility, a new type of business was emerging: roadside restaurants. These restaurants became popular because they catered to drivers. Customers could pull up in their cars, place an order, and have food brought directly to them. This system was known as the drive-in restaurant. At first, it seemed revolutionary, but it had major flaws. Service was slow, labor costs were high, orders were often incorrect, and customers frequently had to wait much longer than they wanted. It was during this era that two brothers entered the picture: Richard McDonald and Maurice McDonald. They weren't wealthy businessmen. They weren't famous entrepreneurs. They were simply two ambitious brothers looking for an opportunity. Like many entrepreneurs, they experimented with different business ideas. Some worked, some failed. But eventually, they decided to focus on the restaurant business. In California, they opened their own restaurant. Like most restaurants at the time, it followed the traditional drive-in model. Customers arrived, orders were taken, food was prepared, waitresses delivered meals to cars. Business was steady. But the brothers noticed something important. The system was inefficient. Too many employees, too many mistakes, too much wasted time, and too much money disappearing into operating costs. Most restaurant owners accepted these problems as normal. The McDonald brothers did not. They began carefully studying their business. They analyzed sales. They tracked customer behavior. They examined which menu items generated the most revenue. The results shocked them. A huge percentage of their profits came from just a few products, especially hamburgers. That discovery changed everything. Instead of continuing with business as usual, the brothers made a bold decision. They shut down their restaurant completely. For many business owners, this would have been terrifying. The restaurant was already making money. Closing it meant risking everything. But the brothers believed they could build something better, something faster, something more efficient. They started asking new questions. What if we removed everything unnecessary? What if we simplified the menu? What if food could be prepared faster than ever before? What if a restaurant could operate like a perfectly engineered machine? To test their ideas, they did something unusual. They used an empty lot similar to a tennis court. They drew kitchen layouts on the ground with chalk. Then they had employees practice moving through the space. Every step was analyzed. Every movement was measured. Every second mattered. If two workers crossed paths and slowed each other down, the layout changed. If a task took too long, it was redesigned. They were essentially building an assembly line for food. The result became known as the speedy service system. It was revolutionary. Instead of one employee handling multiple tasks, every worker specialized in a single job. One grilled burgers, another assembled sandwiches, another handled fries, another served customers. Everything became streamlined. Everything became faster. When the redesigned restaurant reopened, customers noticed immediately. Food arrived in minutes. Prices were lower. Quality remained consistent. The experience felt completely different. Word spread quickly. More customers arrived. Lines grew longer. Sales increased dramatically. The brothers had unknowingly created the blueprint for modern fast food. What they built wasn't just a successful restaurant. It was an entirely new system, a system that would later be copied around the world. And yet, they still had no idea how big this could become. Because somewhere else in America, a salesman was about to discover their restaurant. A salesman who would see something the brothers could not. They saw one successful restaurant. He saw thousands. His name was Ray Kroc, and his arrival would change McDonald's forever. While the McDonald brothers were perfecting their restaurant in California, another man was searching for his big break. His name was Ray Kroc. If you had met him in the early years of his life, you probably wouldn't have predicted that he would one day build a global empire. He wasn't born rich. He didn't come from a powerful business family. He wasn't a famous entrepreneur. For most of his life, he was simply trying to find success. Ray worked many different jobs. He sold paper cups. He played piano. He worked in sales. He tried multiple business ventures, but none of them made him wealthy. Years passed. Many people would have given up. Many would have accepted an ordinary life. Ray didn't. He continued searching for opportunity. Then one day something unusual happened. At the time, Ray was selling milkshake mixers. Normally, restaurants purchased one machine, sometimes two, occasionally three. But one day, a small restaurant placed an order for 8 mixers. 8! Ray couldn't understand it. Why would a single restaurant need so many milkshake machines? His curiosity got the better of him. He decided to visit the restaurant personally. The restaurant was located in San Bernardino, California. When Ray arrived, he was stunned. There were customers everywhere. Lines stretched outside the building. Orders moved at incredible speed. Employees worked with remarkable precision. The entire operation seemed almost impossible. Ray had visited countless restaurants before, but he had never seen anything like this. Food was delivered within seconds. Customers were happy. The kitchen ran like a factory. The business was incredibly efficient. Ray immediately recognized something special. This wasn't just a successful restaurant. This was a revolutionary business model. After meeting Richard and Maurice McDonald, Ray began asking questions. How does the system work? Why is it so efficient? Could this concept work in other cities? The brothers explained everything. To them, it was simply a restaurant, a very successful restaurant, but still just a restaurant. Ray saw something completely different. He saw an empire. He imagined thousands of McDonald's locations across America. He imagined a restaurant in every major city. He imagined one of the largest businesses in the country. That vision led him to an idea: franchising. The concept was simple. Entrepreneurs could open McDonald's restaurants in their own communities. Each location would follow the same system, the same menu, the same standards, the same customer experience. Today, this seems obvious, but at the time, it was revolutionary. Ray approached the brothers with his proposal: expand nationwide, open restaurants everywhere, build a chain unlike anything America had ever seen. The brothers were cautious. They already had a successful business. They weren't obsessed with becoming billionaires. They valued quality and control. They wanted steady growth. Ray wanted something much bigger. Eventually, they reached an agreement. Ray would oversee expansion through franchising, and he immediately got to work. But the process wasn't easy. Some franchise owners ignored standards. Others tried to cut corners. Some focused on short-term profits rather than long-term quality. Ray quickly realized something important. If McDonald's was going to succeed, consistency had to become sacred. A customer in California needed the same experience as a customer in Illinois. The burger had to taste the same. The fries had to look the same. The service had to feel the same. So Ray enforced strict rules. Every detail was standardized. Every process was documented. Every restaurant followed the same formula. Some franchise owners complained, others resisted, but Ray refused to compromise. That discipline would later become one of McDonald's greatest strengths. The chain began growing rapidly: 10 locations, 20, 50, 100. The expansion proved that Ray's vision was working, but success created a new problem: tension between Ray Kroc and the McDonald brothers. The brothers preferred caution. Ray wanted aggressive growth. The brothers wanted control. Ray wanted scale. The brothers were satisfied with a successful business. Ray wanted a global empire. Those differences became increasingly difficult to ignore. Meetings grew more intense. Arguments became more frequent. The future of McDonald's became a source of conflict. Yet Ray refused to slow down. He believed time was critical. If McDonald's didn't expand quickly, competitors would copy the concept. But there was another challenge: money. Expansion required enormous amounts of capital. New restaurants cost money. Training costs money. Infrastructure costs money. At times, it seemed like growth might outpace the company's resources. Then Ray discovered an idea that would transform everything: an idea that would make McDonald's far more than a restaurant company: real estate. That decision would become one of the smartest business moves in history, and it would eventually help Ray gain control of the company itself. But before that happened, the conflict between Ray Kroc and the McDonald brothers would reach a breaking point, a battle that would decide the future of McDonald's and change the fast food industry forever. By the early 1960s, McDonald's was growing faster than anyone could have imagined. New restaurants were opening across America. Customers loved the speed. They loved the consistency. And they loved the low prices. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. But behind the scenes, a storm was brewing. The relationship between Ray Kroc and the McDonald brothers was falling apart. The more successful the company became, the more obvious their differences became. The brothers wanted stability. Ray wanted domination. The brothers wanted careful growth. Ray wanted explosive expansion. The brothers saw McDonald's as a great restaurant business. Ray saw McDonald's as the future of American dining. Every major decision became a battle. Every discussion became an argument. And eventually, Ray reached a conclusion. If he wanted to build the empire he envisioned, he needed complete control. There was only one problem. He didn't own McDonald's. The name belonged to Richard and Maurice McDonald. Without them, Ray couldn't fully execute his plans. The conflict continued for months. Then came one of the most important negotiations in business history. Ray proposed buying the company outright. At first, the idea seemed impossible. The brothers had spent years building their restaurant. It was their creation, their life's work. Selling it meant giving up control forever. But the pressure was growing. The business was becoming larger and more complicated. Managing the conflict was exhausting. After long negotiations, a deal was finally reached. The price was $2.7 million. Today, that number might not sound extraordinary, but in the early 1960s, it was a fortune. The agreement would make the brothers wealthy, at least by normal standards. But what happened next would become one of the most debated business stories ever told. When the deal was completed, Ray Kroc gained full control of McDonald's. The brothers walked away. And from that moment forward, the future of the company belonged to Ray. Few people realized it at the time, but this decision would ultimately cost the brothers billions of dollars in future value, because Ray was only getting started. Most people think McDonald's became successful because it sold burgers, but Ray understood something far more important. The real money wasn't in hamburgers. The real money was in real estate. This insight changed everything. Instead of simply allowing franchise owners to buy a restaurant, McDonald's would purchase valuable land. The company would then lease that land to franchise operators. Suddenly, McDonald's wasn't just a restaurant company. It was becoming one of the largest real estate businesses in the world. This strategy created an incredible advantage. Every new restaurant generated revenue. Every new property increased the company's assets. Every new franchise strengthened the entire system. The model was brilliant. As competitors focused only on food, McDonald's was quietly building a real estate empire. And the results were extraordinary. Restaurant openings accelerated. Cities across America began filling with golden arches. Small towns wanted McDonald's. Large cities wanted McDonald's. Highways wanted McDonald's. The brand seemed unstoppable. But Ray knew growth alone wasn't enough. He needed consistency. A customer visiting McDonald's in New York had to receive the same experience as a customer in California. The same burger, the same fries, the same service, the same quality. That level of consistency had never been achieved at such a scale before. To make it happen, McDonald's invested heavily in training. This led to one of the company's most famous innovations, Hamburger University. Despite the unusual name, this was a serious institution. Future franchise owners were trained in every aspect of the McDonald's system: operations, customer service, food preparation, management, leadership. Nothing was left to chance. Every restaurant owner learned exactly how McDonald's was supposed to operate. The goal wasn't creativity. The goal was perfection through consistency. And it worked. As the years passed, the golden arches became a symbol of reliability. Customers knew exactly what to expect. Whether they were in Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, or Miami, the experience remained the same. That predictability became one of the company's greatest strengths. Meanwhile, Ray Kroc continued pushing forward. He demanded excellence. He demanded discipline. and he demanded growth. Some people admired him, others feared him. Many considered him ruthless. But almost everyone agreed on one thing. Ray Kroc was relentless. He wasn't interested in building a successful restaurant chain. He wanted to build an empire. And that empire was beginning to take shape. By the late 1960s, McDonald's had become one of the fastest-growing companies in America. Its expansion seemed unstoppable. New restaurants opened constantly. Revenue climbed higher every year. The company became a symbol of the American dream. But even as McDonald's conquered America, Ray's ambitions extended far beyond the country's borders. He believed the Golden Arches could succeed anywhere. Europe, Asia, South America, everywhere. The next challenge would be taking McDonald's to the world. A challenge that would transform the company from a national success story into a global phenomenon. And in the process, McDonald's would become one of the most recognized brands in human history. But global dominance would bring new opportunities, new risks, and new controversies. Because building a worldwide empire is never as simple as it appears. In the next chapter, we'll explore how McDonald's expanded across the globe, became a cultural icon, survived criticism and competition, and ultimately changed the way billions of people eat.